Ariana Pasamata, and I'll be conducting speech 2 today. So before getting up to give a speech or get up in front of a large group, have you ever been given the advice to picture your audience as being in their underwear? I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly calm my nerves. If anything, it makes me more anxious to see people that I don't know half naked. And that is exactly why I'm addressing the subject at hand, why it's important to analyze your audience. I'll be covering 3 topics today. Researching the audience types, the expectations, beliefs, and demographics of your audience, and also the impact measurement by ongoing and post-speech analysis. While preparing your speech, it is not only imperative to research the information that you're going to be presenting, but it's also necessary to research the type of people that you'll be presenting to. Understanding what the expectations, beliefs, and demographics of a listener are can help you to shape the creation of the speech and set you up for success. A presenter can only make an educated guess on the type of people that they'll be presenting to. But taking a moment to assess who the audience is going to be speaking to can set up a speaker for success. As Watts says, it is helpful to be able to determine the type of audience that you'll be presenting to. Tim also identified 3 types of audience members that you could possibly be presenting to. One of them being passers-by. These types of audience members need to be captivated within a short period of time. An example of this type of audience member is when a protester is trying to draw people in order to have them to believe or think in the same way that they do. They usually use terms that create an emotional response and grab someone's attention in a short period of time. Another type of audience member is a captive audience member. That is usually in the classroom setting, when there is less flexibility to leave or move around whenever the interest is lost. They are less likely to leave during a speech, but it is just as important to prepare and adequately share the information so that they can understand, and it's not just a complete waste of everyone's time. Another type of audience member is selected. You are presenting to a group that is aware of the subject, and they may have the same goal in mind. The speaker will easily be able to identify the information that is put out and what the group's expectations are. An example of this type of presentation is public relations. In public relations, you're trying to present a product and come up with an idea so that people are interested in the product that is at hand. I have worked in an assortment of different types of restaurants. I have worked at an Italian bistro where we shouted greetings every time a person came in, and we conducted ourselves in a very in-your-face type manner. I have also worked at a restaurant that was a gastropub where a lot of the people that would come into the restaurant were older, made a little bit of higher incomes versus the people that were in the bistro. And if I were to approach them in the same manner as at the bistro, I would be looked at like I was a crazy woman. So I had to look at the type of people that I was serving in order to make them enjoy their experience while they were dining out. The demographic analysis of an audience can make or break the reception of a speech. No 2 people are alike, but you are more likely to find a way to get a message across if you make the effort to understand your audience and how they communicate. And how they communicate will have an effect on how they will process the information that you're presenting. One way to get to the demographics is to make an educated guess. Some elements to consider are age, gender distribution, political view, religion, and the education level of your audience. So how do these factors affect their values? They can affect their values because they'll have different beliefs in morals and their attitude towards the subject being presented. Considering who you're speaking to will affect what you say and how you say it. If I'm presenting to a group of women, I can definitely say how I feel about childbirth, how I feel about certain laws that are being pushed across, but if I'm presenting to a group of males, they won't be able to relate on childbirth. Yes, they can go based off of what they have experienced themselves as being a partner, but they won't necessarily have the same belief system as a woman would if I were going to be presenting that subject. I also used to teach dance, and I feel like this topic ties in perfectly with my experience as a dance teacher. I taught in many different types of settings to a wide assortment of range and genders. I had to be cognizant of how I presented the routine so that people would absorb the information that I was giving to them and wouldn't feel overwhelmed. The end goal was that the people would feel comfortable enough to remember the routine and also perform it at the end of the hour. Usually my classes were only an hour, so I needed to make sure to present the information in a way where they would feel challenged, but also that they wouldn't feel overwhelmed. So, not only is it important to focus on the initial presentation, the preparation of a presentation, it is also conducive to follow up and receive feedback on how you did throughout your speech. This is conducting ongoing and post-speech analysis. Ongoing analysis. So paying attention to the reception of your speech. A lot of times you can tell whether people are paying attention because they're usually making eye contact with you, nodding their head. They may even be giving verbal cues like, oh yeah, when they're in agreement. If they're not paying attention to you, they're usually looking at their phone, looking around, shaking their heads. You can tell when people aren't paying attention to what you're saying. For post-speech analysis, you can tell whether or not your message was received because most likely you won't be getting a raging applause or people will be standing up cheering you on if they don't agree with what you're saying. Most often, you'll get a soft clap. And another way to gauge whether or not you did well is if people are paying attention to what you're saying, they'll most likely be asking you questions and finding out further information on what you presented. Another way that you can find out how you presented yourself is to ask someone that you know that will give you honest feedback. Honest feedback can sometimes be harsh, but I live by the motto that if no one tells you, how are you going to know? That being said, I would rather get constructive criticism on how I performed and be able to improve rather than just floating along sucking at life. So throughout my presentation today, I have addressed why it is necessary to analyze your audience. I have given you examples of the types of audiences that you can come across and how to adjust to the demographics of the people you're speaking to and how to improve upon your performance during and after conducting your speech. I hope these tools will help you to improve your presence and avoid making a blunderous joke in the wrong setting. Thank you.